Welcome to Good Books Lately. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Brandon.
And today we're coming at you with a regular reading update. It is called the Brandon Reads All the Books in the Family Show, and Taylor is reading a book. Okay.
Couple books.
But we just want to share with you guys what we're reading, some thoughts on what we're reading and listening to.
Yeah.
We also have some compelling pickups that we want to share with you guys today. Those are books that we've recently just picked up. I have one in particular that's Christmassy, festive.
Right.
We celebrate Christmas in this house, and I thought this was a really sweet one because of the illustrations. Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
You got anything?
Yeah, so I'll start with our opening segment, Done and Dusted.
Done and Dusted. These are the books that we have finished.
Yeah, recently. You haven't finished any as of the last time we did an update, but I did. And it's Stephen King's Salem's Lot, which...
Hold on, wait, pause. I feel like we should talk about like what we've been up to today. Okay.
Salem's Lot?
Salem's Lot,
which Taylor,
short for Jerusalem's Lot.
Yeah, which Taylor read before I did, back during spooky season. Yeah. And I finally got through it and done it, and loved it, thought it was really good. In fact, after after I finished reading it, we watched the original miniseries
1979 adaptation miniseries.
Which is was good, but also kind of
you know what? It was fine.
Yeah,
it was fine. We have a podcast, an audio podcast over on the Patreon where we talk about various different things while we walk Pepper. It's called the Pepper Walks podcast. Yep. We talk about this over there. So if you want to hear our thoughts on the screen adaptation of this, the 1979 version, check that out. But it's lukewarm in my opinion. I felt like some of the choices in actors were, I don't know. I can't I can't picture Hutch from Starsky and Hutch.
Right,
yeah, and I just don't think that's really...
But no, the book is great.
Book is fantastic.
It's thrilling. It's creepy. It makes you want to just keep flipping the pages like Stephen King does.
Super compulsive.
Kinger himself.
Kingster.
But yeah, highly recommend it. Maybe next spooky season if you haven't read Salem's Lot, or just want to have a fun vampire book.
Vampire experience. It's got classic vampire vibes.
This is for you. So, and you didn't complete any books yet.
I have not finished anything.
But you're in the middle of a couple.
Yes, I'll wait until. I mean, how many have you finished?
Well, I also finished the audiobook for the second in the Thursday Murder Club, The Man Who Died Twice. Really loved that. Such a fun murder mystery.
You're crazy about these books.
They're so fun, and because we love British TV and British
TV,
comedy,
humor,
and British
drama,
like mystery shows, loved it. So if you're a fan of those kind of things, the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman and those series, I think there's 4. They're great, and then he has another series that just came out as well.
Just so you know, we have 2 little boys that are currently in their room, and they're playing Super Smash Brothers, which is like a Mario game. Yeah, and you might be able to hear it.
You probably don't. But those are the 2 books I've recently finished as of the last time we did a reading update.
You've been on fire.
Well,
I get up in the mornings, and usually when I get up in the mornings and I sit and I just have my coffee, I don't know about usually, but that's when I would read. Right. But lately I've been doing a lot of knitting. Yeah. It is something I do. It's a big part of me. And I'm hosting a couple of what's called a knit along. It's like a book club, but for knitting. And so I've been wanting to kind of stay up on top of all that stuff.
And you're still getting it in.
Yeah. It's just, I got to balance things out. I'm also reading a book that's a heavy hitter. So we'll talk about that. All right.
So that's it. No, that's it for Done and Dusted for me.
Done and Dusted.
So if we want to move on to the bookmark segment. With bookmarks?
That was a fail.
Always got to...
Bookmarked.
Yeah.
All
right, so you started.
Okay, so I am reading by the Kingster himself, The Shining, okay? This is very well known as a Stephen King book. I'm just going to say because he's so close to us right now that we probably don't need to shout. I feel like I may get up in here and just shouting? No, thankfully. Okay. We don't need any shouting. Okay. Stephen King's The Shining.
Yeah.
Okay. I've only ever seen the movie. I've seen it a handful of times.
Here's Johnny.
I've seen it like once fully.
Okay, so it's a super spooky movie directed by Stanley Kubrick based on this book.
Yeah.
Turns out, now that I'm reading this book, it's very loosely based on, well, not very loosely, but I mean, there's so much in the beginning of this book that isn't even touched in the movie, and it makes this so much more meaty and rich and impactful.
Which
and
I mean,
sometimes
you would expect, right? With a
but
book.
it's in a different way than like a book that just happens to have more, like Rebecca.
Oh, okay.
There's so much more in the book, and it makes it, I guess it makes it meaty and impactful and all those weird adjectives. But like this is like, it's just missing from the movie. So there's a lot of context that you don't get in the movie, that you're getting here, which makes the whole, like what I know is coming seem even spookier and more heavy, and also more symbolic of like stuff going on in the Torrance family in their lives.
Yeah.
So if you've only ever seen the movie and you do like Stephen King or you're interested in reading, this is a good one to read just for the experience of being like, wait, what? Like what is going on? Who is this Jack Torrance? Like all of these things. It's really fascinating, but it also makes it really kind of, it's heavy. You sit there and you read and you're just like, oh my gosh. And it's good, but I'm just not compulsive. I'm not picking it up like, oh my gosh, I have to know. But
you'll
as
get
soon
to that
as
point, I'm sure.
I think that now that I'm in the hotel and things like are starting to get creepy, and it's moving away from being like family trauma and all these crazy things to being like paranormal.
Real life trauma.
That's my thoughts on it. I feel like I'm really excited, and we're going to talk about this later, but I'm excited for the Good Books Lately book club selection that has come, because that'll be kind of a nice palate cleanser from this. But yeah, Stephen King's The Shining. It is excellent and very well written, and vivid, and I'm really enjoying it. Like right now, it's a great one, and I love the cover.
Yeah,
this is the same.
No, I don't. Is it? Yeah, Vintage.
Yeah, Vintage did both of these, so these are supposed to be kind of like
they're same new art and
they're really
retouching on the art.
Yeah, they're really cool. So that's my bookmarked. Here comes one of our chitlins.
Yeah, I have 4 books that I'm going on right now, but one of them's not here. It's at school because it's part of my school book club.
Oh, right.
And I'm taking it slow.
And are you going to talk about that today?
I can.
Or do you want to wait and talk about it when you have it?
Yeah, I can wait. I mean, because I'll wait till I finish it or something. But it's good. I like it.
I feel like that book, the way that you've been talking to me about that book and the discussions that you and I have been having, we should do a video where we only talk about one book so we can really kind of go into it.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a good one.
That would be a good one for that. So
yeah, but
I don't know.
But I'll talk about the ones I do have here and one I'm listening to.
Which I'm also... Oh, no. Are you going to talk about that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm first going to talk about this one.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. Sorry.
All right. I'm still on a nonfiction kick. I always keep nonfiction in my repertoire. Mm-hmm. This is The Last Call at the Hotel Imperial. The reporters who took on a world at war. It's basically the story of kind of a group of reporters.
He's asking for a butter cookie.
Yeah.
What is... Like one of those in the plate over there? Yes, but you have to eat it right there on the counter because it's crummy.
Watch your hand. Don't.
Welcome to Good Books Lately, where we have a family and an open house.
It's okay.
I mean, like an open.
Yeah. But no, it's about a group of reporters that are foreign correspondents, foreign journalists in Europe from America, reporting on what's happening in Europe after World War I, kind of in the 1920s, Great Depression, that era leading up to World War II and the rise of dictators. And I picked it up because I was like, oh, that sounds like cool, like in between story, kind of see what they were saying about, what was going on. But it also gets into a lot of like their lives and kind of the mindset of people in that era. Which
I think is what informs a lot of the political movements.
Yeah. And so they are, and I'm like halfway through. It's got like 600 pages, but like 150 of them are notes. And
there's, text is pretty much falling off each side of the page.
Yeah, there's no margins. It's like 5-point font.
It's so tiny.
So yeah, it takes, you got to, it's not that it's hard to read. It's just,
it's a lot.
You're not going to flip through the pages. Yeah. But I'm loving it. And it's getting better and better because now I'm getting to the point where they're, Hitler's being Hitler in Germany. Austria's doing their thing, trying to act like they're not going to be Nazis, but Mussolini's being talked, and it's these reporters kind of touching on it and saying, "Hey, this is what's going on. Why aren't people taking?" Yeah, but also kind of like
fascism is poking up its head.
Fascism, dictators are rising up, but also there's this there's touch on psychoanalysts like Sigmund Freud and that movement and
psychoanalysts.
Yeah. And that movement, there is, kind of like the almost like that free love like aspect because there's these reporters are married kind of, or they're married, but they're also kind of open in a sense.
Is this going to be part of Brandon's
It kind of is. There's a lot of
Slutty book club?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of came that way, but it doesn't go into graphic detail.
If it's in there, Brandon will find it.
Yeah.
He will root it out. Yeah, we got merch.
Yeah.
Down below the
But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I've been reading it for, I don't know, a while now, just because of that. It's one of those things where you really read a whole page and 2 pages, 3 pages, and you feel like you've been reading for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The last call at the Hotel Imperial.
What is that in reference to, by the way?
It's a hotel that I believe is in Vienna, Austria, where reporters, would kind of meet up and like gossip and pass on stories and tidbits. And this is like, it was also a place for other people that would meet up. But it's like kind of reference that like they finally get to the point where they have to get out of Europe because it's
so this is
engulfed.
last call, like get out
or get out, or kind of like that.
I'm telling you, it's that show. We need to start watching that show again.
But it's also kind of like after their days, they would just go hang out there.
We need to start watching that show. You flinched like you thought I was gonna do one of these.
Yeah, I mean that we did start watching that show.
Why didn't we finish? It was
because I think it was getting I think you were getting a little sensitive to like the intensity of it.
No. You were talking about how psychoanalysts are starting to become like more of like a thing. People talk more about like that psychoanalysis. It's been Freud and all that, which reminds me, this has nothing to do with a book, except I think it might be based on a series of books. Okay. But there's a show on PBS called Vienna Blood. So good. It's like crime, drama, and like the psychoanalyst who like his work.
All right. You can see you.
Can you play outside?
There's no one out there right now. Your brother's inside.
You play basketball? You can. Socks on your feet, and the little green guy has to go out.
Do you want to move on to this one and that we're both doing? Okay, here, I'll let you hold it, and you can start us off. Okay,
so Brandon is part of the Books Are Sick book club.
Yeah.
And I'm not on the Patreon, but I am through you. Are you on there as Good Books Lately?
It says Brandon and Taylor.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I'm kind of on there, but I'm not actively involved in that. Yeah. But they are doing a book club for the book James by Percival
for December.
Everett. I knew he was gonna read it.
Yeah.
And I decided I was gonna start listening to it because a few of you in the comments, I think in reference to you mentioning this or over on the Patreon,
it was on the
Patreon.
That
the audio book is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I figured, well, I'm already reading this. I'd like to have something to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I have a few things going, but I needed something to really get me. And so I started listening to this, and my, is it not a fantastic audiobook experience. The man who narrates, I can't think off the top of my head who it is, but he's wonderful. You listened to a little bit of it in the car today.
When we were driving around.
He's ahead of me, so we were listening to it in the car. Fantastic narration. So this is a story of Huckleberry Finn and Jim, who was the slave that escapes with, like, he runs away. Paths cross. He and Huckleberry Finn.
But they know each other.
But yes, they know each other. And it's that story, except it's told from the perspective of Jim. And in the story, and this wasn't an element in the Mark Twain version where Jim was educated.
No. Because he was very much like,
It was very, like, he was a slave. And as far as anybody was concerned at that time, slaves were uneducated.
Didn't even have the capacity to handle it.
Yeah. So in this particular story, you have James or Jim, and he's educated and he has a family, but yet he doesn't ever let that on to his masters and his owners or any white people because it's a thing where that was not accepted. That if they ever got caught wind of that it was a real problem, right? Yeah. So he almost has to like overemphasize his lack of education and intellect. Yeah. But it's done in a way that is very like enlightening.
Yeah.
But you enjoy the story. It's just done really well. It's a beautiful narrative. The storytelling's wonderful. The juxtaposition between James, the person on the inside who's telling the story, the educated, intelligent man, and the outward Jim, the slave who has to put on this like, persona. Yeah. But his relationship with Huck is really cool. Yeah. You can tell there's like a little bit of, there's like love and appreciation there.
He understands he's a child and what that means.
Yeah. It's just a really great story.
And I will also add that we were talking about the margins on that last one. This book is like a refresher because it's 300 pages, but it's got big old margins. It's got space.
Wide set.
It's, the font's a little bit bigger. It's, you fly through it, and there's a lot of dialogue. So it's like, you can jump the lines down. You can fly through 6 pages in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's really good. The reading of it, I asked you about how the reading is going, because so if you've ever read Huckleberry Finn, the Mark Twain version, it's really difficult to
draw,
read.
the Southern draw.
Because it's all very like, what is that called when it's like
twang,
phonetic,
yeah.
right? It's there, but
Wow,
it's not, it's in this. I don't read it. I'm listening to it.
Yeah, I read it. I do my best when I'm reading it in my head. I'm not reading it out loud,
Sure.
so it's a little easier. You kind of just
Sounds
know what it's
way
supposed to
better
sound.
up there in the noggin.
Yeah, you know what it's supposed to sound like at least. So yeah.
It's really good. You have to go into it too, understanding that. So the person who wrote this, he's not holding anything back.
No.
He's not like
not
trying to
censoring.
censor certain words, and I appreciate that, because he's trying to. He's painting a picture of what it would have been like, but from James's perspective.
Yeah.
And so there's words that are present, right?
Aren't
And
acceptable anymore. In our time.
they're not acceptable now, but I think when we're reading a narrative
that's what I'm saying.
is set, right?
Yeah,
I feel like I
not-
expect.
They're not modernizing.
Yeah, don't modernize it. Don't like let's hear it. Let's
Yeah.
hear it like it was. And I think that I think it's being done there, and I appreciate that. But it's
100%.
a fantastic story.
Love it. I can't wait to get done with it.
That's what I'm compelled to be reading, but I'm listening to it, so it's like I have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Loved it.
It's interesting is the book I'm listening to. I'm on my way to work and home, and whenever I get a chance, is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. And she's the author who wrote The Sword of Kaigan. Everyone loved this book. Is new release this year, I believe, but it's fantastic. And it's kind of this story about kind of a magic world that is, saving itself from this potential blight that is wreaking havoc on the lands, but they have this magic like kind of dome that protects them.
Oh, sorry. Okay, it's still going. I'm sorry. I looked down. I thought it had stopped.
Okay. But no, they have this magic dome that protects them, and they're kind of flourishing. But everyone outside the dome, they are impacted by blight. But there's people that live out there that are not part of the culture or the people that live inside the dome. And there's this essence of like they're dirty, they're uneducated, and so it's kind of that similar like how they could never possibly be a part of this kind of thing. And so, but as you start to get into the story more and learn about the magic and learn about these cultures and these peoples, things start to be like eye-opening. And you're like, oh, and it very much becomes like an ethical, religious, like commentary on in this mythical world, but you can kind of make ties to some of the things that have happened in our past or in the world now. But it's really well done, and you really get kind of emotional with these characters as you're going through it. And so I've been enjoying it. I'm about halfway through, and my brother, who I'm reading it with, and my aunt, they said once you get to this like halfway point, you can't put it down, or you don't want to stop. And I think I'm there, because now I'm like, I want to see what comes of this and how they're going to go. So Blood Over Brighthaven, magnificent. It's really good.
That sounds interesting.
And I'm listening to the audiobook. The audiobook's done really well.
Yeah.
The narrator's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny because like when you say like it has like the social commentary, or the religious commentary, or whatever.
Yeah, it's more like a moral, like ethics,
ethical questioning and all that kind of stuff.
Moral, yeah.
I think sometimes like when I hear people talk about books, no, not now, but prior to like really getting back into reading like what we're doing here, I think I would hear people talk about books with those kinds of themes, or I don't know what you call that. And you'd always kind of think like, oh, I don't know if I want something like it's going to make me feel like,
I don't want to feel my feelings.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Question
like,
my sensibility.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an obnoxious reaction that we have to like books like that. And there are some out there that do the social commentary thing in a way that it's like they're just shoving it down your throat, and it's almost
this isn't
like,
that. I don't think this
right. I don't, and I wouldn't think you would enjoy it very much if it were. But there are books out there like that I feel like like ruins it for everybody. It's like they're the reason we can't have nice things. I think there's enough books out there like that that when you hear somebody like what you just did, which makes the book sound fantastic, but you do mention the social commentary. I think people kind of bristle, or at least.
Yeah, I mean, for
where
sure.
You're kind of thinking like, oh, okay, I don't know if I want to read something that's going to just make me feel like I have to. That sounds like I'm not. It sounds worse than I intended to mean. Like it's going to make me feel bad for all the horrible atrocities. That's not what I mean.
No.
I think you might be able to understand that.
I think the reason it doesn't feel that like that as much is like it's set in a mythical world. Like it's not trying to place it in like a alternate reality of our world,
right?
Or a future tense.
But even regardless, like I think what the point I'm trying to make is that like now that I've been reading a lot more and I have read things that do have things like commentary in them, it's almost like you realize that those ones that are shoving it down your throat are far and few between, and the ones where they're just trying to use something that we can relate to that brings feelings to the top. They're just trying to use that to kind of to make you relate to it in a kind of visceral way. And I've come to appreciate things like that. Like James, for example.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like social commentary in this. Well, I mean, obviously it is, but it's being told in like very narrative and almost like replicating something that's already been. Yeah.
There's like that famous like quote about books. Like the more you read, the more you're opening to different
it's so
people's
true
views.
And maybe that's what I'm trying to say is what would usually or typically in the past have made me kind of keep it at arm's length. I now have read enough where it's like in there and I didn't realize it was going to be in there and I'm realizing I'm consuming it and I'm like, oh, this is actually really great. It's opening my mind and I'm feeling things.
I've become better as a person.
So I think like it is kind of a magical thing. And so like now that you say that, where maybe like 8 months ago I'd be like, I don't know if that's for me. But now it's like, oh, interesting. I kind of like it when it's packaged up in this really cool mythical world.
Yeah,
it makes
really
it approachable and comfortable.
I'm loving it. Yeah, I went to the store just a little bit ago, and I was only I put it on. I was like, yeah,
I know. He goes and he runs these errands, these real simple errands, to the store to get some bubbly waters. Yeah. And I don't know how long it takes to do that. I know before we were reading and listening to all these audiobooks, he'd be there and back in like no time flat. Now he goes, I gotta, go to the store and get some bubbly water.
Listen.
And he's gone for like 45 minutes. Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's not 45.
Yeah, it was like 45 minutes. No. You see these Christmas lights? I put up Christmas lights while you were gone. I got this.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what we can take away from everything I just said.
No, but read books. It makes you better.
Read books. It opens your mind. Butterfly in the sky.
But those are my bookmark.
That's great.
Your bookmark we talked about.
And I want to read that book.
Yeah, you should. I would recommend listening to or read it. I would like to get a physical copy of it. That'd be cool. So now we move on to what? Compelling pickups?
Let's do a compelling pickups, and then we want to talk to you guys about the Good Book Lately. Good
Book Lately.
Only one. Good Books Lately book club to let you know what's going on with that because that's exciting. Right. Can I go first here?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right.
So
we were at the Writer's Block and
local bookstore, independent bookstore,
and it's beautiful. I think did we pop in some photos from the Christmas decorations?
No, that was on
a little bit of here so you can kind of see what it looks like right now because it's all decorated. This bookstore. If you're ever in Las Vegas, check out the Writer's Block. It's fantastic. Downtown. And I picked up a book that they had for Christmas. It's a children's book. It's a picture book because I love that kind of stuff. It is called Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree. And I picked it up because I like to pick up a new Christmas book every year, every other year, whatever.
Read it with the boys.
Read it with the boys.
Read it with the boys.
And what I love about this is it has these illustrations that kind of take me back to like the old school, classic, almost like New York Times type, or not New York Times, New Yorker style illustrations in a way. I just really love them. So like, look how, aren't those cute? Yeah, it's really cute. Cool. This book came out, I think, in 2000. The jacket art and interior illustrations, copyright 2000.
Oh, okay.
So even though the book came out in the 60s, which would make you think of the illustrations being the way that they are.
They're staying authentic.
The actual illustrations were done in 2000. I read it last night, but I was so sleepy that I don't remember. Yeah, it was just a really big house. Anyway, the Christmas tree is too tall. As you can see here, it's kind of like bent underneath the ceiling.
It's like
and so he tops the Christmas tree. And then he's going to discard the top of the Christmas tree, but then it gets noticed there's a helicopter flying over us. It gets noticed by somebody else, and they're like, "Oh, who would throw such a lovely Christmas tree away?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they take it, and they take it into their house, only realizing it's too tall, so they top it, and then it gets discarded, and then somebody else finds it. It's
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
thing.
Unlimited Christmas trees.
Just Christmas trees coming out of our eyeballs, but it's
cool.
really cute.
You're going to read that tonight for the boys?
I would like to read this tonight for the boys.
right.
Yes,
Cool.
Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree.
Awesome. Well, my compelling pickup also comes from the writer's block.
Yes.
We were at the writer's block. I wanted to go there to pick up James, a hard copy of it. But while I was there, we were just browsing like you do in a bookstore, and I came across a display that had this book, Lovecraft Country,
Lovecraft
by Matt Ruff. It's one of those olive editions by what's the company? By HarperCollins Publishing. But I thought the cover looked really cool, and it's I think these olive editions are all kind of like horror-based stories because they had that really cool Exorcist cover, the green one with the girl on it.
The girl on it, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I've never heard of this story. I read the back, was kind of into it. It takes place in like the 1950s America, and there's like an element of like race and segregation, but it's a story of like this guy trying to find his uncle who's gone missing, and then things start to happen. There's kind of an underground like cult or like a cabal that has his uncle, but then there's paranormal stuff I think too, or monsters. I don't know.
Sounds cool.
But I think I was intrigued, and so it was a good price. And
the quote
picked
on
it
the
up.
back, it says, "That's the horror, the most awful thing, to have a child the world wants to destroy and know that you're helpless to help him. Nothing worse than that. Nothing worse."
Yeah, and then I guess there's a second in this world or that he wrote, so there's a follow-up too.
I'm having a reaction to this quote.
Really?
I feel like raising children in today's world, where there's so many things just being shown to them that, in my opinion, only serve to harm them in the long run. Social media, like really crazy, like online interaction, like video games.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just going here right now. All of this stuff is just there, always, constantly compelling them to want to be a part of that. And you have to try so hard to keep them from getting. I mean, we don't allow any of that in this house. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
it's
Wow.
okay. Yeah, but I think if you enjoy kind of like cool art,
It is. Yeah, put it up there. It's really cool looking.
the olive editions, they're limited editions. They're limited editions, so they're not around forever. But they look cool.
If you wonder why we do this, it's because if he puts that up there
And
and
has a
my
face.
face is showing, it will focus on my face and not the book.
Yeah.
So we try to hide one of our faces.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So that's our compelling pickups. Do you have a quote of the day?
I
Or
don't
do you
have,
wanna-
this is the one thing about listening. I don't have anything
From The Shining?
from, you know what?
You don't have to try to.
No, and I'm not going to try to search for it now. I don't have anything from The Shining. I feel like I would have a lot of things from
The
James, but I'm listening to it.
it's like
Sometimes I'm
make
driving.
notes,
It's hard for me to. I'll do better next time. I'll
right,
get some.
sorry.
Do you have any?
I do have one. I took a
Here, let me hold this for you.
I took a picture of the page. I didn't write this
Design
down.
has changed.
So let me
online,
make sure I got
by
the
way.
page number here. 183. Okay.
I'm not really.
So this is from the last call at Hotel Imperial. And this is a point where a reporter is talking to his colleague who's in Austria with him, and they're kind of wondering why people, or he's asking a question, why people get drawn to these kind of fascist leaders and what happened. So it says, but why, John wondered, would people who distrust authority choose to subsume themselves to a strong man? Why, of all things, do they view Hitler as a god? So that's kind of what he's thinking, right? And so this is the quote.
do they view Hitler as a god?
Yeah.
Is that
Why
what
do
it
they
said?
kind of
Okay.
like, and are so passionate? Why do they fall? And so this is his friend, his colleague, Steckel, is kind of relaying this, and the author kind of adds to it. People like to be afraid, said Steckel. They tell themselves that they are defiant, that they are independent. They poke their fingers in the eyes of the Jews. They roar in a crowd. The ectoplasm of the dictator envelops them. They believe they are now part of a leadership. Obedience and defiance finally merge, and the leader becomes the new savior. So I thought that was like kind of a very poignant like way of like how people find themselves not wanting to be trusting of authority, but then realizing they kind of want that and become a part of something. And then they realize, oh, because I'm feeling so much better, this is the reason for it, I think. And so they kind of, and you see that happen all the time throughout history. And so I thought it was kind of a cool quote to understand why at that time period when people were kind of downtrodden, were not feeling like, they had something to believe in, these kind of dictator people like Hitler, like Mussolini, would come out of the, nowhere really and draw these crowds of people to them.
That's it. That's good. We now want to tell you guys about the book club book that we have for the Good Books Lately book club.
Yeah.
We have finally settled.
Yeah, we had a poll.
Yes.
People voted, the members voted. And so if you want to be a part of it, you got to join the Patreon.
Yep.
You can read the book, but if you want to be a part of like the fun stuff that we're going to be doing and the chats and the videos that we're going to be doing,
head over, support us on Patreon.
Yeah, but the poll closed last night. The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern.
And we had a lot of books. We
had
with like
12 to start. They were all kind of from our TBR that we've been wanting, physical books on our shelves that we pulled, and then we narrowed it down, and this is the eventual winner.
Which I'm really happy about that, because I feel like that might be a good palate cleanser.
Yeah, I think, the people were saying, we're excited.
Yeah.
People are getting their copies now. So we're going to be getting that going kind of around the Christmas Eve time. We have a video up there kind of explaining it up. So if you want to know more and want to get involved, go check it out.
Yes. So Patreon, if you want to get involved in Patreon, it's $3. It's a fantastic place to go for lots of additional content that we put together. Brandon puts out there. It is a fantastic way to support the channel here, and also just to get more involved in some of the things that we're doing. We are going to be launching this close to Christmas Eve. It's kind of like a in the spirit of the Icelandic tradition Jóla bókaflóð, which is where you gift a book to one another on Christmas Eve, and then you spend all evening reading the book and eating chocolate. And as a way of like kind of celebrating that, we are going to be doing a live video over there on Patreon.
Yep.
We're going to do a chocolate from around the world tasting. We're going to go to the store tomorrow and get our hands on some cool chocolate from all over.
Yeah.
And then we are also going to be doing...
We'll answer some questions in the chat.
Questions, like a Q&A, and then we're also going to be doing Tis the Season Christmas Trivia.
Which... We've
had this for a long time. I don't know why we do that though, because it is really fantastic stuff.
It's so hard.
Not really, but that's what we're going to do in our live video as we kind of chat with the folks over on Patreon.
Yeah,
he's really good at it. I don't know why he's like that.
Yeah, we'll be chatting about this, getting everyone excited for that, and then
it'll be good. It'll be a fun time. So get involved if you need a book club to be a part of. It's a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that.
It'll be fun.
It sounds like it's so good.
Yeah, that's what people said. There was also people mentioning that for some people they just didn't get it. Like they've read it and they were like,
so they're going to read it again.
Well, they were saying like their group of friends, like only one of them like really enjoyed it.
Oh, okay.
And I guess so some people maybe not. And so I think one of them is going to reread it and see if they can't get something out of it.
I mean, it's worth a reread for everything that people are saying about it. So we shall see.
Right.
I mean,
no, I'm excited. It wasn't one of mine that I picked.
No,
it was one that you picked.
And if something happens and one of us doesn't get it, or somebody in the book, I mean, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
we'll pick it apart. We'll figure out why. It'll be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
A good time.
So join up if you want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And no pressure.
No
if
pressure
not, just
at
keep
all.
coming back every day.
Keep coming back
every week for one of these,
and we'll be hanging out with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for us today.
That's it.
Let us know what you guys are reading. Are you reading any good books lately? What's going on?
Yeah.
Keep posted.
Enjoyed our update.
Yes, if you enjoyed this,
thumbs up. Subscribe it.
Click the bell icon. Comment down below.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought.
Any good like kids picture books, Christmas related ones? I'd like to get some more ideas. Check out the merch. Lots of fun stuff. You can see it right down below the video. Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.